What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Burly Fishing. Today, we're talking about anchors. More importantly, how to keep your kayak from just whipping in the wind and going all over the place. How do you stop on a spot, fish that spot as much as you want, and really go about enjoying your day fishing? Anchors are boring, but they're also kind of like an integral, very important piece when it comes to kayak fishing. So it's something that you guys should pay attention to, and I'm going to talk all about some of my favorite anchor setups today and how we rigged it, as well as some other options that you guys will have. So stay tuned for that. If this is your first time coming by the channel and you like the content, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you can see when we post more videos. Speaking of anchor systems and rigging your kayak, make sure you guys have listened to our kayak rigging episode of the podcast, the Burly Fishing podcast. You can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as on our YouTube channel right here. So give her a listen. Let's talk about dropping anchors. All right, so first of all, there's a lot of different types of anchors that you guys can put on a kayak, but most commonly with kayaks, even as big as the one I'm with right now, this is a Hobie Pro Angler 14-foot 360 drive. This is big, heavy kayak, right? Even with something this size, you're really not going to need more than 5 pounds. 5 pounds would be completely overkill. Most kayaks run somewhere between 1 and 3.5 pounds with their anchors. And the most common one you're going to see is something like this. So this is a Grapnel anchor. So, I mean, basically you got the little 4 prongs, they swing out. You can lock them into place by sliding this little piece down and then spinning it so it locks. That way it's going to stay engaged like that underwater. And then when you're storing it, you can actually slide it back down, close these guys up, and then lock it in place there. So it doesn't spring open in, maybe the cockpit of your kayak. You wouldn't want that. So this is a pretty common one. This one's 3.5 pounds. Yeah, 3.5 pounds. So we got that, and then you would just, anchor hitch plus a little like double overhand knot behind that safety knot. You would anchor hitch that to, a carabiner or, rope that you're using as your anchor line. Managing that line can be a real pain in the butt. In the past with my kayak anchors, usually what I've used is just like a simple plastic winder like this. You can get these for super cheap. You can throw like a little flotation device on there too. So if you had to detach from your anchor to, say, fight a fish or move off of spots for safety purposes or whatever, you could do that and then it would stay afloat. The line would stay floating so you come back and reel in your anchor. Not a bad option. Still hard to manage that line even on this. It's kind of a pain, and then it's, taking up space, precious cargo space in your kayak, so it's not really ideal. We'll talk about how we're rigging that line now in just a second, but before we do that, other types of anchors you could have a shallow water anchor, which is what I got right here. They're definitely a lot more expensive. You're gonna spend some friggin' change on this. So this is a power pole micro anchor. This system right here is $5.99 for the unit. Then you got to spend money on, getting a battery, rigging that battery, or getting the portable battery, which is about $200. Then you got to buy the pole. Luckily, the pole, this is the 8.5-foot ultralight pole from PowerPole themselves. Luckily, they have a mail-in rebate, which is really cool. So if you buy the system and the anchor pole is free. Normally they're $100, but you do a mail-in rebate, you get $100 back. It's a free pole, so that's pretty sweet. For the Hobie specifically, you have to get this mounting plate, which is $100. So all in, you're spending $800 to $1,000 to get this set up. Where it really performs its best is in shallow waters. It's a shallow water anchor. So if you guys are fishing flats, if you're fishing the marsh, if you're fishing, shallower lakes and rivers with lower current, this is an amazing thing to have. You can stop on a dime. It has a lot of control strength. It's not going to break on you. I've used this in high current rivers. It's pretty fantastic. But if you're fishing like medium to deeper waters, it's useless. You can't use it. So if you fish shallower waters and low current waters, this is great. If not, might not be good for you. It's something I use from time to time now, depending on the lake or river that we're on for that day. So I actually use a different anchor, and this is another one that you'll actually see a lot more now on a lot of kayaks. And that's called a drag anchor. And what this ends up being is a couple of links of chain, right, that you can get at the store, just galvanized chain, pretty cheap. I think I was maybe $15 for all of this. And you can either run it straight, no covering, which is fine. There's somewhat of a risk of, sticks getting caught in the chain links, and that could be dangerous. It's pretty low risk, to be honest, but if you got just like dirty, nasty waters where you could get hung up on something, you might want to cover these. Options there is you can use like handy dip, which is typically like that rubber coating that you see on tools. You can get that in a paint can for pretty cheap, and then you could dip the chain, let it dry. It takes a couple hours. Other than handy dip, option you can go with that I did is you can actually get old used tire tubes, or in my case, I bought a new tire tube. Don't do that. Somebody pointed out on my Instagram post, pretty great idea. You can just go to old bike shops and say, hey, do you have any used tubes? A regular 26-inch tire, if you get one, would cover all 3 of these lengths right here. That's it. So if you want, like, these are 1.5 foot each of chain. So if you got like 3 of these, this gives me about a 3-pound anchor right here, which is all I really need, especially since it's a drag anchor, which means I'm really using it to slow myself down, somewhat hold myself on a spot. On a non-windy day, I'll stay still. On a windy day, I'll move, but barely. It's kind of like using a drift sock or something like that at that point. It just gives you more time per spot to fish, which is amazing. But yeah, get yourself like some used tires. You just slide it right over the chain. It's actually not as hard as you would think. And then you zip tie both ends, just like that, so that this sleeve doesn't fall off. I left the top just barely open so we can actually clip it to our carabiner here. And I'll show you how we rig this up in a second. You can throw up to 5 links on this. I opted for a locking carabiner, so I can lock that in place. There's no chance of it bumping into a log and having a chain link fall off. However limited that risk actually might be, just a little extra safety. But that's what it looks like all rigged up. You do want, if you don't want these chains to get all nasty, I honestly don't care that much, but if you don't want them to get all nasty, zip tying the bottom end tight, but not too tight, will let water come out when you're getting off the water, and then you can hang these up, let them dry when not in use, and that's fine too. For this, I also like to go with a couple shorter lengths of chain, just so you have options as far as an adjustable weight anchor. So if this is 3.5 pounds, I can switch out one of these long lengths for a short one, and I'm down to like a 2.5 pound anchor. So if I want to be moving just a little bit and it's not as windy a day, I can have these in the front cargo bin of my Hobie, switch out my anchor, and then go about my business. And it lets me move a little bit more than I normally would. It's kind of like going from a big drift sock to a little drift sock. It's going to do something similar if you guys ever used those before, which technically is part of the anchor family, but we're not talking about them today. So there's like the main anchors you're going to see out there: drag anchor, or grapnel, or downrigger sinker. Some people use those, the downrigger little cannonball sinker, other normal boat anchors, but typically you're going to stay in that like 1 to 3.5 pound range is really all you need for this type of boat. Maybe 3.5 on like really windy days, maybe you need a little heavier, but 3.5 you're going to be fine. So let's talk rigging on these things. I want to show you guys this. So this is our power pole, which we've said is our shallow water anchor. So power pole actually has an adapter here. You can buy the portable battery. If you're going to spend the money on this thing, just get the battery. Even get 2 of them and just keep them fully charged, because they are so easy to use. And then you just pop that bad boy on. We got our spike in already, and then we can operate it from the back. You're not going to do that on a kayak like this because I'm sitting way up there, but we actually do have a button right in the boat, which is right next to my seat here, that I can easily access. You can use that, or I never use this because my life jacket gets in the way, but you can also use this little key fob here that comes with it. So you got your options. Then with those buttons, you can double tap to just sink the anchor all the way down. Once it feels the ground, it'll kind of set you into place. Then you can also adjust the anchor force here, or on the key fob, or on the little fob that we have mounted to the side of the kayak. And you can adjust that. So if you're in stronger current or rougher bottom, you might adjust the anchor force up so that it keeps you down. Then we can double tap up, and it'll bring our anchor spike all the way back up and leave it there. With these, you do want an emergency pull strap. That's what this cord is. I've got it mounted on my boondocks right back here, so I can grab that, pull it, it releases this quick release, and then that tips up. So if you're in a dangerous situation, or if you're going under some trees or something, you need it out of the way, you can pull that real quick and keep yourself safe. Very good idea. Let's talk about dropping an anchor. Now, I could throw that classic anchor right on here as well. I'm gonna prefer to use these chains for now, especially in the river. These are gonna be amazing. So we just got that hitch knotted with a double overhand knot, safety knot above that, and another overhand knot above that, just because this is kind of lighter woven line. So I'm gonna test it out. We're gonna see if it survives. We got one pulley system back here. This is just from an anchor trolley, and then you're gonna run that line all the way up. I added these little tabs just so I can keep the line managed and not popping up towards the H-rail, right? And then we're running that all the way up to this bad boy right here. This is an anchor wizard. So an anchor wizard solves really that problem that we were concerned about with line management. It's all inside of this. This is a nice little low profile case. There's all my line. And then it runs on a tension system. So if I want to let the anchor down, watch the anchor back there. If I want to let the anchor down, I just loosen this, anchor drops. If I want the anchor back up, I just turn the crank. And then that anchor is coming right back up. There we go. And then once I'm at the top, it's gonna hang there. So we can just paddle on. So can easily drop it and pull it whenever I wanna move spot to spot. So this is clutch. And it mounts to normal tracks. So if you have, most kayaks have these at this point, little track guide. You can drop this bad boy right into anywhere you have a track on your boat. On the Hobies, you can also get an H-rail mount. We're probably gonna upgrade to that mount here pretty soon. That way I can put it probably right up here, easy access, or even right here between the boondocks and my little rod holder. Because this being at the front of the boat subtracts about 8 to 10 feet of my anchor line. No big deal for right now, especially if you're just drifting the river, but possible concern. So those are the anchors that we're using on the boat right now. I like having the option between these two anchors. So dragging anchor allows me to really slow down in easier conditions. I can hang tight in one spot pretty easily with this. If it's too deep, I'll use this obviously over the spike. In shallower waters, I can always just drop the spike. It's a little bit easier to manage. I don't have to worry about the anchor line at all. If I'm fishing just all shallow waters, low current, I might only bring this and not even clip this on to not have to deal with the weight or drag as I'm paddling spot to spot. All right, so let's take this drag anchor out on the river real quick and show you guys what that looks like when you operate it. This will be my first anchor drop. I'm gonna come up on this spot right here and we'll see how this anchor does. See if it stops me real quick. Gotta be on bottom. Dude, so easy. Using this anchor wizard, we got one pulley from my old trolley set on the back, and then using just the standard line that came with it, you just loosen up the anchor wizard, it drops down, tighten it back up. I only got 2 chains on that thing. I'm not going anywhere. It's sweet. Awesome, so there you go guys. That is the anchor setup we're going with right now. Power pole, super shallow systems, drag anchor for rivers or lakes and deeper water. And this bad boy, if I'm in a deeper lake and I just need to stop on a dime, so you can always swap these out. And the chain, the grapnel anchor, super cheap stuff. This real expensive. So if you're just looking for a basic anchor to get started, that grapnel anchor with your basic line management is a fantastic way to go. I'd highly recommend starting with something like that. Now, when you want to go more advanced and you want some more control, or you want your anchor to do different things, maybe then upgrade to this kind of setup. The anchor wizard's $80 to $100, depending on if you want the chute. I'm not using that, so you can get like the $80 model, which is great, a low profile setup. And then these pulleys for the trolley system, you can find these for a couple bucks, right? The line comes with the anchor wizard, so you're already lined up. You need a nice carabiner, you need some chain. We're talking 100, 120 bucks max at that point for this type of rig. Get that other anchor as well. You've got 2 main anchor systems for not too much money. And then if you want to just go with this bad boy, you're talking $1,000. So fair warning. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, be sure to hit that like button and drop me a comment below. Let me know your anchor setups as well. But if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. And we will see you guys out on the water.